Black drink, a beverage made from the yaupon tree, was used as a daily stimulant by many American Indian tribes of the Southeast. Many modern sources don't describe how to use it in their way in order to fully appreciate its rather strong effects. My video shows their method of gathering, preparing, and consuming it, and details the fascinating history of this plant. I've located the last thing I'm looking for, probably the most important one. There it is. Early colonists in Texas called this plant té del indio, Indian tea, or chocolate del indio, Indian chocolate, for very good reason too. The Indians of Texas, and just generally throughout the Southeast, drank this daily because it has caffeine. And so the leaves have about 40% the caffeine content as do coffee beans. But another cool thing is it has theobromine. If you don't know, theobromine is the active ingredient in cocoa that has sort of stimulant effects. It makes you feel good. So it has about 10% of the theobromine content as cocoa. So both of those together give you a nice feeling, and it has a little bit less than both those other plants, but you just compensate by either drinking a lot or making a really strong brew. And that's exactly what the Indians did. So they love this plant, man. They would, even as far back as 1530, the very first people to encounter Indians on the American continent wrote about the big parties the Indians would basically have with yaupon leaves. And they would all get together and brew it up really strong. Cabeza de Vaca, when he was staying in the island near Galveston, said that he saw sometimes the Indians would go 3 days without eating any food at all, just drinking this tea, and they would drink like 4.5 gallons a day each. And this isn't some weak tea. They were making it as strong as they could. So they would take it, a pottery vessel, and put it over the fire to toast the leaves, and then just put water directly into that pottery vessel and boil it up. Cabeza Vaca said that they would boil it long enough for it to have boiled 3 times. So make it real strong, and sometimes when you do have a bunch and make it really strong like that, it releases a little bit of foam. And so the foam is the best part. So if it was foam, they would just drink it as hot as possible. And there's records of other Indians, what they would do is they would skim off that foam alone and put that into another vessel and then drink that foam. That was like la creme. So I've done that, and it is really good. Very stimulating. It's kind of like espresso if espresso was made out of yerba mate. So yerba mate is also very close related. Both of these are in the genus Ilex, which is the holly genus. Now, most things in the holly family don't have caffeine, but this one and yerba mate, and there's one other one similar to yerba mate down in South America, those are trees. Ilex paraguayensis and Ilex guayensis. So this is the only plant in North America that has caffeine, except for Ilex cassine, another holly. Ilex cassine only has like a quarter of the caffeine content of this plant. And a lot of early ethnographic and historical accounts have kind of made a mistake between those two. Ilex cassine is very common in Florida. This plant, Ilex vomitoria, is just common generally throughout the Southeast. Very common in Texas, Central, Southeast, and Eastern Texas, but all over the Southeast. But early accounts have confused this with Ilex cassine, but really only Ilex vomitoria was used. And so that might sound like an unappealing name, vomitoria. Well, it's not because it makes you vomit. It's because they wanted to drink so much of it that sometimes after their bellies were full up, drinking 4.5 gallons a day, they would voluntarily purge and then drink some more. Another name for the preparation of the tea would be black drink. Another fascinating fact about this plant is that, so there's a city called Cahokia, is on the confluence of the Missouri and Mississippi rivers. St. Louis is today. At its time, around talking like 1000 AD, there was more people living in Cahokia, Indian City, than there were at London at the same time. They found pottery beakers in Cahokia with residue of yaupon holly leaves. Cahokia is around 500 miles from the closest population, yaupon holly. So there was a trade going on. It was a very popular plant, and for very good reason, man. I can drink this every single day. It's got very appreciable caffeine content. And there's been sort of a resurgence in modern times of people, bagging this up and selling it for like $10 for a quarter pound or something ridiculous. Probably got a couple pounds already. But people don't seem to know how to prepare this plant. You do not make it like a regular tea. You don't dry it and pour water over it and then just sip on it. No, but you boil it. You put this in the pot and then boil the pot and keep boiling it until that pot gets nice and black. You want it to be basically opaque and black. That's why it's called black drink. And it doesn't really get too bitter even when it's made that strong. If you make it strong like that, and especially if you drink a lot of it like that, you will feel the effects, and you'll probably like it if you're like coffee or chocolate. This is how to identify yaupon holly. So this right here is yaupon holly. Now this individual kind of has particularly large leaves, but they still have this characteristic of those wavy leaf margins called crenate or crenulated. They're pretty glossy. Their overall shape is always pretty much oval like that. They're just very simple, alternate branching there. See, they're not right across from each other. Literally like right next to, almost mixed in with this plant. This, which looks very similar at first glance, it's actually in the same genus. This is possum haw, or Ilex decidua. But if you compare them side by side, what stands out to me most is the leaf shape. So generally possum haw does have bigger leaves, but I chose this area as an example because they actually overlap in leaf size. But possum haw gets thinner towards the base, longer petiole there, the leaf stem. And the possum haw is also deciduous, so the leaves will fall off in the winter, whereas yaupon holly, this right here, is evergreen. They also have a different color to me. So here you have the fresh, young green leaves and very bright, and the older ones, very dark, distinct color. But the the possum haw here sort of has this kind of in-between color. I don't know how to describe it. They both have red berries. Possum haw doesn't have all the good stuff in there. No caffeine or theobromine. So like I said, these are big for yaupon holly. But normally maybe even half this size often. Texas tribes known to have drank the tea include the Asinai or Tejas, Atacapa, Caddo, Comanche, Karankawa, Tawacanis, and Tonkawa. Well, I do believe I've got enough of this for the next couple days. Took me all of about 20 minutes total, probably less if I weren't talking to y'all. Can't talk and work at the same time. The decoction of the leaves was drunk as a panacea by Tonkawa Indians. They also used it to improve stomach function and appetite. The Tonkawa and other Texas Indians used it as a powerful emmenagogue. too hot. Oh, yeah, that's hot. Oh, it doesn't taste bad at all. A little bit bitter, but for it being so black and boiling so long, most herbs would be awful tasting. But it's got like that biting quality where after you take a really strong shot of espresso or something with a lot of caffeine, you just like hits you immediately. I've given this preparation to various first-time drinkers, and none have found it objectionable. It's no more bitter than black coffee, and its stimulant effects are similar to that. However, it has a different quality, and that drinking a lot doesn't seem to give jitters. Rather, it seems to crescendo to almost a euphoric stimulation when I chug a few pints of it. I've never had more than a half gallon or so in a day, but perhaps its effects continue to be cumulative.